Good evening and welcome to XpressionFM and XTV's coverage of Guild Election Week results. We are here live in the RAM and we're going to be covering the results over the next 2 hours. I'm Chloe Short and I'm here with Lottie Rayner.
Hello.
We've been bringing you coverage via XpressionFM News all this week of all the debates and interviews with all the candidates of this Guild Election Week 2019. How have you found the week, Lottie?
Boy, has it been a long week.
It's been very long. We are very tired. We are exhausted. We are running on adrenaline.
But this is our final push.
Yep.
Straight through. I'm sure the candidates are all feeling the exact same as well.
Yep. It's been such an interesting week with lots of fun debates hosted by ourselves and Sophia Hartwell as well, who hosted the VP Education debate. And they will all be here a bit later and we'll be dropping in and out and interviewing people who have had first-hand experience with all the candidates and talking to some of the SABs as well a little bit later. But yes, Lottie, so what has been the highlight of your week so far?
The highlight of my week, I have to say, I chaired the Guild President debate last night and that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
Yes.
I think it actually cleared up a lot for me because I think there are a few things, you know, some might say one of the biggest criticisms of Pat's manifesto is quite how ambitious it is.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure how much has he really checked, how much it is really feasible. And it was really good throughout the debate. He said, no, I've spoken to this person. I've already checked this. They think this is feasible. They think, and I think that does really well for the voters as well because
yes,
we're reassured, aren't we, that
yeah,
you know, he knows what's going on. He knows what he's put in his manifesto.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also as well with the president debate, we had two very different candidates, very big personalities.
Yes.
Alex Honey as well, a very big person, a very interesting candidate, part of the Fight for Change slate candidates, which has been very interesting this week to interview all of the candidates part of that. Alex Honey, Jack Moore, Jack Heinsohn, just to name a few, running for President, VP Education and VP Activities respectively. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting because they have come across sometimes as joke candidates. Their manifestos are very interesting, kind of tongue-in-cheek.
I think one of the most interesting things about their manifestos in general is just how vague they are.
Yeah.
You know, they tend to go for the Guild isn't doing well, the Guild isn't doing well, the Guild isn't doing well, but then don't necessarily say, okay, this is exactly how I'm going to rectify that. You know, so many of them have said, cut bureaucracy. Okay, well, how? How are you going to cut bureaucracy? And when we've questioned on it, they've not been able to deliver a proper answer.
Yes, and so you could say, I mean, from my perspective, it's quite a pessimistic stance to take when running in these elections, which, you know, it depends whether or not it will appeal to the student population. And we'll find out very soon in the next couple of hours if the students have made their choices. And it's going to be very interesting to see the mood of the student body of those who have voted for which candidates actually are successful.
But a very interesting thing that we've had this year that we've not had so much in other years, 5 candidates have dropped out.
Yes.
Which is amazing. I'm not sure if that's reflective of maybe the process is more difficult now. Is it reflective of just generally it's more stressful than they had envisioned? I'm really not sure.
Yeah, lots of very candidates who dropped out quite last minute as well. We had Tom Lars and
Tom Lars, who had previously run twice before as well.
Yes. So it's very interesting. I think many candidates dropped out for many different reasons, but there were a couple who did cite reasons such as degree work being, you know, very high, very stressful. I know
Cam as well said that for him, you know, actually running this campaign as well as doing your degree has been really challenging for him.
Yes. Let's talk about the AU candidates for a second. So it's been very interesting. You chaired the debate.
I did.
On Wednesday.
So the 2 candidates going for it are Will Wallace and Cameron Taylor.
Yeah.
I really feel for these boys because I think both of them are fantastic candidates, and if it had been another year, I think they both would have won.
Yes, definitely.
I think what's really interesting about Will Wallace in particular, so both of them are fantastic manifestos.
Yeah.
You know, they've run really good campaigns this week. They've been very visual. You know, everyone knows about them. Will Wallace's campaign, I would say, his manifesto is simply, it's more about getting people joining sports and feeling good and mental health. And I think that's more the stance he's taken. Whereas Cam, I think it's fair to say, he's gone for inclusion. You know, he's gone for diversity. He's gone for opportunity. I think his manifesto, if he can really put that into play, could really solve some deep-rooted issues within the AU in general.
Yes, I think whichever candidate for AU president role, I think either candidate will do extremely well, whoever gets it. But yes, you raise a very good point in that this came across very well in the debate, that Will was very much about getting people to do sport, getting people involved as much as possible, making it more inclusive in terms of getting people just to the AU, participating in societies. But then I think Cameron has a lot of experience via rugby,
He's had fantastic experience. He's volunteering on a youth council. He's held several positions of authority and leadership throughout the last 10 years even. So I think he's doing a lot that's actually fundamental to changes within the Southwest as the whole, not just Exeter University. So I really think he could bring that to the role fantastically. And I think one of the biggest things is lots of the SABs, when they take over, it takes them, let's say, a month or two to really learn the ropes.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows it already, he knows the ins and outs of leadership. He's checked with all the right people, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he will make great changes, whether or not he does get the role of AU president. It will be very, very
I'm
interesting.
excited to see what happens with Cam.
Yeah, it's too close to call. I'm going to say it now, for AU president for sure. And as with many other roles, we've just had VP Postgrad Kate walk in through the door. So this is the role that Tom Lars dropped out for. So she is running unopposed, apart from the reopened nominations. I chaired the debate, well, more like an interview with her on Monday night. And I was very, very impressed with her.
I think she has a very extensive manifesto.
She does.
She covers so many different points. And I think things that people very often just don't even necessarily think about. She's got points on sex workers. She's got points on parent students. Yep. Really interesting, very, very comprehensive. And I think she knows what she's talking about as well.
She absolutely does. And she's also just a really lovely, interesting person as well. I was chatting to her just before we started the debate/interview on Monday night, and she was saying that when she first came to this uni and was a first year, she couldn't walk through the forum without having a panic attack. And we were both talking about how nervous we were for the debate to start off. It was the first one of the week for me, and obviously it was just her on the panel. And it's such an incredible thing for her to say, but look, I couldn't walk through the forum when I was a fresher, and now she's standing up on a stage and running for VP Postgrad. And I think it's an amazing testament to everything that she's done, and I'm very excited to see what she does with the role when she is elected later tonight. But yes,
running is a possibility for this evening, within all the categories. Of course, it doesn't happen very often, so it would be quite amazing if it does happen.
Absolutely.
I know there's also been some sort of tactical voting within the student body where they've put their favourite person first, and then second place has been Ron. So that's interesting. I don't know whether that necessarily affects the votes at all. I think that's really interesting, though, that people have tried to take a more tactical approach this year, potentially.
The numbering system, it does make it, I feel like maybe it makes it slightly a more lengthy process of actually going in and putting in your votes. But it's actually, I find it really useful, and especially if you're not sure for candidates, if you're not sure, if you had to choose between 3 or 4 candidates, you can rank them in order of which one is your preference. And Ron, you can also rank into that preference, which is really, really great. And it was great to see lots of people on the hill today. The weather's been quite lovely all week, apart from we had a little bit of rain yesterday. But just comparing it to this time last year, where we didn't even have an official result because of all the snow, couldn't be more different this year.
It's been amazing.
Climate change.
I know Will Wallace, he was matching his campaign colours by day 2. Full red sunburn.
Yes,
definitely.
Was brilliant.
But I think, so let's talk about, what actually motivates people to vote. Why have people been voting? Because I think it's really interesting when you look at students. Are we voting based on manifesto, based on the campaigns on Forum Hill, based on social media presence, or is it just simply, my mate knows him? I think that's really interesting. What do you think is the most important one for people to vote?
It's hard for us to say, because student media is a bit of a bubble. Especially with coverage and being heavily involved in scrutinising manifestos and everything, as we've been doing all week. But I have to say, so in my first year, I wasn't involved with student media to an extent that I am now. And what motivated me to vote was honestly the campaign videos and how much effort I perceived the candidate to be putting into their campaign specifically, and their campaign video. I remember that was the year that Toby Gladwin became president, and I remember, I still to this day can picture his campaign video in my head. It was kind of iconic. I know lots of people cite that video who can remember it as being, an amazing piece of editing and campaigning. So that was what persuaded me personally. But I did actually, I thought that the person who put the most effort into their campaign was who I would be voting for in that case. But it's difficult to say. It can be many things. Most people will read all of the manifestos. Some people might just be a little bit more, they seem like a nice person, personality, go for the personality vote, and it's very interesting then to see what candidates focus on their campaigns on social media, for example, and, you know, campaign videos as always.
And I think Will actually was saying a lot of this during his debate as well, about how next year when there are issues within different AU clubs, he would tell them, go to social media to try and fix them, to change your image. And he's been really hot on social media all of his campaign week, you know. He's been there through it all. He's actually been doing, I don't know if you noticed this as well, he's always been mimicking the Clegg Can videos a little bit. He's been going to different societies, trying out different sports. And I know when I've spoken to a few of my friends in sports societies, they've really liked the fact that he's been there one-on-one asking, what do you want? You know, what do you want to see change? And I think that's going to be really fundamental to his campaign, especially considering Cam, on the other hand, has not been hot on social media so much.
Yes.
I think he's really updated his social media just for this Guild election week.
Yeah, exactly. I think social media presence is a huge part of this campaign week. Another candidate that I think has had a very, very big social media presence is Lizzie Frisbee, also Liv Harvey, with VP Activities. Those two have really stood out for me personally, just viewing it on my newsfeed on social media. Just all of Lizzie Frisbee has had a great use of memes, which I thought was quite intriguing and, you know, quite funny, and quite a memorable way of you know, getting people to vote and everything. But yes, I think especially with AU president, there has been a very clear difference between the two candidates in terms of how they've gone about, like, strategically on their campaign. But Cam has upped his social media presence in the last couple of days.
He has,
ever since the debate.
Definitely. But I think it's really interesting in this age of social media how the candidates are trying to adapt their campaigns to be more student friendly, I guess. You know, the sheer fact that Lizzie has now been producing memes for her thing and all this sort of stuff, it just makes it a bit more student friendly. And the use of even like onesies, animal onesies on Forum Hill, the use of baked goods, sweets. Actually, I thought what was really interesting, I did see some vegan alternatives as well going up. People handing out like satsumas and things like that, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is representative of sort of the changing current within the student body. You know, we're all doing our own thing, aren't we, to try and get candidates involved. Yeah, it's interesting to see other different strategies. Oh wait, okay. So we've got a few people here now to come on and interview. We have Neha and Josh, who are going to come in and talk to us for a bit now. So Neha, hello.
Hello there.
How have you found this week? Come on, get in.
Personally, I found it incredibly tiring, but it was very good fun.
Yeah. So what was your involvement? Who have you talked to? Who have you interviewed?
So I interviewed Alex Honey, and I also interviewed Kate Loosemore.
Okay, fabulous. So I'm going to ask to talk about Alex Honey first, just because he's a very interesting character, as we saw at the Guild President debate last night. What did you think of him and his manifesto?
Well, if you're looking at only manifesto, I certainly wasn't very impressed. Not purely because of the content of the manifesto, but the fact that it was repeated for 3 very separate roles. It was the exact same manifesto, so I wasn't exactly very impressed by that, really.
So what about personality-wise? So you interviewed him, and personally, talking about the debate last night, I was pleasantly surprised with his, demeanour and the way he kind of handled questions. Do you agree?
I think he's very personable. Genuinely, I think he's very friendly. He's very approachable. After the debate, he seemed like he was a very nice person, and he is, to an extent, very, very confident.
And actually, I just wanted to ask you, the fact that he's running, a lot of people don't realise, but he's running for, obviously, president of the Guild. He's also running for 2 DVP roles as well. Why do you think he's running for so many roles? Is he not hopeful in his Guild president?
So I'm not really sure why he's running for these 3 roles. So let me just explain the other 2 roles. So he's running for DVP Democracy, and I think he's running for Shadow Council or Trustee Board, one of the boards. But DVP Democracy and Guild President are very, very different roles. So I'm currently the DVP Democracy. I do not have nearly enough, nearly the amount of power that the Guild President has. So I'm not really sure how you would use the exact same manifesto for both, especially involving his claim to cut bureaucracy. DVP Democracy is a bureaucratic role.
So do you think this just comes from an unawareness of the ins and outs, the technicalities of the role? Because we did see that a little bit in his debate as well. He just didn't seem to quite have the knowledge of the Guild that Pat had.
I would say I was going to use the word ignorance, but I'm not going to use the word ignorance. I'm going to say inexperience, because maybe in a couple of years, Honey will turn out to be a good candidate. But right now, I think his lack of experience with the guild is negligible.
So, may I ask, do you have any predictions for the role of president? Obviously, we've all been looking at Pat and Alex's manifesto for the two candidates running for president. Do you think Alex Honey has a chance?
Well, it depends on how hard he's been campaigning. I think the issue here, again, with the campaigning, I would have, if he had ran as an individual, I would have expected him to get quite a high turnout. The slate might dampen his turnout a bit because the slate has been talked about and not in a...
Would you like to just explain the slate, running on a slate?
Running on a slate is about, in this case, 3 candidates for the VP roles running on a manifesto point called #FightingForChange. I'm not sure what sort of slate it is, whether it's political, whether it's what other sort of slate it is, but freedom of speech seems to be like a common topic with all 3 of them.
It's such a big topic as well with all of the Katie Hopkins issue that has been going around on campus. And Josh, we're going to come to talk to you now because you have some good knowledge about the AU candidates.
So you've got a choice, or the choice between Wallace and Taylor. Certainly, just on a gut instinct, it seems to me that Taylor's a lot more approachable as a person. I think the AU's in a very good spot right now because they've got 2 very strong candidates either way. You know, I don't think either of us or anyone that I've spoken to is concerned about either candidate. So it's a very nice place to be, and I'm sure that whatever candidate gets it would do a good job. I think that Taylor's manifesto is perhaps the stronger of the 2. He tackles some really divisive issues and that I think are really important at this university. He's a lot more on the ball, if you'll pardon a very bad pun, with inclusion. He's mentioned tackling lad culture at the university, which I think is a massive step in getting people who don't currently play sport but have an interest in it to get involved. That's certainly what I think are kind of his main strengths, but Wallace is obviously well known within the AU already. His boxing background is only going to help him in terms of getting votes in the election. He strikes me as a very competent man. 2 very good candidates. I think it's going to be a really close race, actually. I'll be very interested to see what the numbers are that either candidate wins by.
Do you think the fact that Will hasn't really tackled issues of lad culture and things like that is representative of him giving them a free pass, or that he just doesn't think they exist anymore?
It's very difficult to say, and without speaking to the candidate himself, I'm loath to give an answer one way or another. If I had to go out on a limb and go down on one side, I would suggest that it's maybe something he's comfortable with, and take that in, kind of interpret that in whatever way you want, because there are definitely some people that think lad culture is a good thing, that initiations, I mean, there is an argument to be made that they are good for team bonding, that it really helps the freshers integrate. Whether you believe that is a totally different question. The fact that Wallace has neglected to really mention anything too much about it does kind of suggest that he might not be fussed about tackling it. But I mean, we've seen and heard of some of the processes that the new players go through at each different university, and it never comes out in the best light, which is really no surprise. But.
And do you think as well, obviously Cam's got a background in rugby. Rugby turnout for voting has been really, really poor.
Definitely.
Do you think that's maybe because he's talking about doing, club constitutions, about getting hotter on lad culture? Do you think that's why rugby hasn't been voting?
Potentially, yeah. The rugby club's a team that I've had a lot of interaction with during my time this year as sport editor at XTV. They've always been very accommodating to us in terms of kind of after games and getting comments, and obviously we did a big work with them with our varsity. It seems a very open club. I'm not sure that there are intrinsic problems there that a lack of voting for Taylor would point at. I think sport generally, it needs a cultural overhaul. If you're really going to tackle things like lad culture and diversity issues, going as well into female sport, female inclusion, and not just looking at people of colour getting involved. And I think that needs to start at the top. I think the thing is with Taylor's, obviously role as AU Pres would not just be with the rugby club, it would be all-encompassing, and I think that I mean, the votes that he might lose as a result of rugby not voting for him, I'm sure he'll gain by the fact that other sports people at the university will be enthralled by what he has to say.
Fantastic. And do you think that, obviously you've been working a lot with Amy, who's the current AU Pres, you've been looking at all of her manifesto points and things like that as well over the last year. Do you think that she set them a really good example to follow in suit?
Yeah, absolutely. We've not, on the occasions we've had to go to Amy, she's been very helpful with us. She's made my life very easy in terms of organising press passes for the main events that we cover. And she set the tone very well quite early on, back in November, when we covered the women's rugby varsity, and then the men also played afterwards at Sandy Park, and she was very helpful, very accommodating. She certainly set the bar very high. If I carry on in my role as sport editor next year, I'm hoping that the candidates will match up to what Amy's done. She's put some very good work in motion, and I just hope that they are able to continue that and add their own touch on it.
Fantastic. And to the both of you, do you think there's going to be any surprise winners this evening?
I suppose I'm not predicting much of a surprise, not going to lie. I suppose President would be a surprise, considering the difference in campaigning tactics. So I would be surprised if the President candidate is different.
How about you, Josh?
I think the one to watch out for might actually be Alex Honey. I think if he is able to actually cultivate the first year vote, which is going to be quite sizable, you know, they're almost a third of all the students at the university, or just under. If he's able to cultivate that, it provides him with a really strong basis to go on. And if he's able to kind of appeal to the second and third years as more of a protest vote, there's a chance he might win. But that's the one I think to watch out for.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming and chatting to us, guys. We're about 5 minutes away from starting the results being announced. So thank you very much for joining us. And you can go and have a pint now in the Ram if you guys so wish. And it's getting very full here at the Ram. Pat for Prez has just arrived. Lots of the candidates now taking their seat. I can see Penny, who's been running for VP Education. Inez is also here.
VP Education has been a very interesting race this year, actually.
It has.
Last year, obviously, Warren ran unopposed and won. Mm-hmm. This year, we've had 3 candidates.
Yep.
All quite differing in manifestos.
Very different.
I thought what was really interesting, though, is that I think all of them, certainly Penny and Inez, they both said things about, like, we will be finalising blah, blah, blah on the iExtra app.
Yeah.
Which is a little cheeky, because when we've done our research, we found out, actually, those things will already be in play. So whatever finalising they're doing, it might just be going tick, and that's all. So we thought there was a few things within their manifestos that they were being quite cheeky on. They seemed to give the illusion that they would have more to do with whatever was coming in.
Yeah. There's 3 very different candidates for VP Education. Jack Heinsohn, part of the slate that we were just talking about with Alex Honey.
The Fighting for Change one,
and Jack Morwood. And so 3 very different. Penny has been running a massive campaign, I have to say. They have been out in force, a massive presence on Twitter and Facebook, as well as Instagram. Lots of social media presence for Penny. And Jack Heinsohn, not doing so much as in campaigning, hasn't had much of a presence on campus. The slate candidates have been going around. You can pick them out by them wearing green rosettes with QR codes, taking them to the voting page link, all kind of campaigning together.
Again, adaptive measures, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this
QR
for the
codes.
more techie crowd among us? I don't know.
Yeah, and it will be very interesting. I know a lot of DVP candidates as well. That's been their tactic, has been walking around with QR codes, getting, especially people in the Into building, the international students, responding very well to using like the QR code tactic of saying, like, look, if you just scan this, it takes you to the page where you can vote for me, which I know has, but this could affect the big turnout overall of Exeter number, and it would be great to see a large turnout. We need to finalise the numbers before voting closed at 4 p.m. this afternoon. But it will be very interesting to see, especially, last year the turnout took a hit because of the snow, because of the weather that closed campus.
And because of the strikes as well, I think.
Also,
that was a big factor.
Yeah. But the year before that, I think, if I'm correct, we had around 40-something% turnout, which was the highest ever. And that was amazing. So it would be interesting to see whether or not maybe last year's elections not being as big, affecting people who are now in second year, not having much of a knowledge of student elections and the guild elections and what they do.
I definitely think that has really affected it. Being in second year myself, I think a lot of people were unaware of the elections going on last year, because realistically they lasted 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, something like that. You know, a lot of people really don't know about the guild election week and how much of a thing it is.
Yep.
You know, I know you said that a few years ago there were people dancing in the forum when it was finished. We just simply didn't have that this year, and not for lack of trying, that's for sure. I just think that within the student body, we've kind of taken a step back from guild politics. You know, as you said earlier, student media is really within a bubble.
It definitely is.
We are doing so much manifesto scrutiny. You know, we have to know the candidates. Other students, I just don't think that's made so available for them.
Yeah, I think for other students, it's mainly going to be, you know, who stands out on Forum Hill the most, who they see the most, who has, you know, comes up on their radar, rather than actually seeking out and wanting to get involved in student politics, which, you know, I think is ultimately a reflection of, you know, whether or not you then in the future partake in actual general elections in, you know, politics in general, and it's going to be very interesting.
Certainly. So we should be having Steve Gibson taking over soon, I believe, who will be announcing some of the awards. We were going through all the DVP awards first, student trustees, things like that. Now, a few of our candidates going for the VP roles this year have actually stood as DVPs throughout this year already. Certainly, who's been a DVP this year? Liv
Amelie
Harvey has been a DVP of Societies. Amelie is DVP.
Yeah, Amelie, who is running for VP Welfare Diversity, she has definitely been a
She's
DVP.
Probably a Welfare and Diversity DVP then.
Yes.
And I would say, arguably, if you've held the role of DVP, you know the workings of the guild, you've been there, you're already listening to the students.
Yes.
Unless you've been mucking up your job throughout the year, I think that's a really, really good sign.
It's definitely an advantage.
Exactly.
Being on a DVP, you know, as in being a good preparation for becoming part of the VP community, or running for a higher sabbatical position. But yes, it looks like there is some action coming on. The PowerPoint screen is up in the background, has appeared on the screen behind us, so it's a good sign. I think we will be starting very, very soon. But let's talk about the education candidates a little bit more. Enes as well. So we had Jack Heinsohn, Penny and Enes. Enes stood out. He's, you know, pushed very much in the fact that he is an international student, and
I think he's lived/gone to school in 3 different countries.
I can speak 4 languages, I think it is.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so very, very impressive. I am very impressed. But
what was interesting about his manifesto, though, that I didn't really understand, is that he wanted to bring in parts of, you know, things that he's learned from his other schools in other countries. Now, how well that's actually going to work with, you know, British schooling, British universities, I don't really know, and I'm not sure why he feels it necessary to bring them in. He didn't really specify why he thought it was necessary, other than making it more diverse. And this is actually a really prominent issue in all of them. You know, Exeter has a diversity issue. We all know this. It's really come to our attention in the last couple of years.
Yep.
And it's something that I think almost every single manifesto has picked up on.
Yep.
You know, there's only one VP Welfare and Diversity, and yet all positions have mentioned issues with diversity.
Yep.
I wonder, is it a little bit a way to gain votes because they know that it's an issue? I'm not sure. Or is it genuinely reflective of the fact that there is an issue here?
It is using all these buzzwords, isn't it? Diversity, inclusion, all the kind of correct terminology in order to, you know, gain votes and make a point. But I do hope that it is genuine. Obviously, it is a massive issue for students. And we're going to wrap this up very quickly. Someone is standing on the podium, and it looks like we are about to begin with the results. So stay tuned. Lottie and I will be back with reactions to these results. We're going to go now to the mic on the podium. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Okay. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. There's a bit of feedback. Okay. 1, 2, 1. But we are 5 minutes away from the first announcements. Thank you very much.
Okay, you are back here with myself and Lottie now. We are running 40 minutes late. The results show was due to start at 7 p.m, but we are running quite a bit behind schedule.
Correction. The Guild is running 40 minutes late. And I think this is really, really interesting, actually, and that's why I wanted to bring you viewers back and listeners back as well, because is this reflective of exactly what the three boys who are running on the Fighting for Change slate are talking about? You know, they're talking about the inefficiencies of the Guild. Is this not exactly representative of it? We are now running 41 minutes late of their own coverage. You know, as a student media, we've set up already and we're all ready to go. We've been broadcasting for 40 minutes.
We have been rambling and talking at you for a fair while.
But I do think it's really interesting, I think that it does, for a lot of students, you know, potentially reflect actually how successful their campaigns could be.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
what they're saying is true. You know, I think in our day-to-day lives, you know, our communication with the Guild is often one of anguish and of stress and of delayed replies. And I do just think it is very interesting, the fact that we have this again in the Guild elections. The Guild is being slow.
Yeah, and I think it makes it all the more important to get involved and actually, you know, vote for the candidates you want who do have the potential to reduce the bureaucracy, as the Fight for Change candidates are advocating. Whether or not they would be successful if they had the role is another question, but that is true for all candidates. They are running on their manifestos and their promises, and we are deciding, the student body is deciding who will be best to advocate for students. Okay, we have the thumbs up, but we are good to start. So let's see this time. We're going to hand over to the Guild.
And let's see what happens.
Fabulous. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with you shortly.
Good evening, one and all. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the results night of the Student Elections 2019. I'm sure you will agree with me that this is the night we've all been waiting for. Some more than others maybe, but we've all been waiting for it. Whether it's been a week or longer. My name is, well, it's changed a lot in the last week. Some of you know me as the man of many names. Some know me as Scott Temple. Thank you. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on that. But actually, my real name is Scott Temple Farmer. In my day job, I'm the Deputy Chief Executive of the Students' Guild. But for this process, I've had the absolute pleasure of being the Deputy Returning Officer. And it has been an absolute pleasure, even when I've been answering those queries, either early in the morning or late at night. But it has been an absolute pleasure to work with all of the campaign teams and all of the candidates in this election. I do, before we have some results for you, just a few things to say and a few things to say thank you to. I really want to say thank you to the candidates. Regardless of the results tonight, whatever happens, your energy, your drive, your enthusiasm to make the university and the Students' Guild a better place is unrivaled. I think also I want to pay real tribute to your campaign teams, and I think you should too, and I'd like you to give them a big, huge round of applause now, please. Whatever the results tonight, you do, through your participation and your engagement, make us much better at what we do. X-Media, thank you very much for your comprehensive coverage of these elections, whether it be following the expose comment Twitter feed that I have no opinion on but did have me in stitches last night, to the chairing of the debates, through all of the other ways in which you have engaged with this election. We couldn't do this as well as we do without you, so thank you very much, and particularly to XTV for broadcasting the results tonight. Guild staff. The hours of dedication behind the scenes is absolutely phenomenal and impressive. Particularly the amount of times you have had to put that poker face on this week as the organisation that I hope you love, but also the one that you work for comes under intense scrutiny. And your professionalism throughout this week and the way you have supported candidates, campaign teams and voters, you should be very proud of yourselves, because I certainly am too, and so are the rest of the senior team. Thank you. I would also like to say thank you to the elections team. There's many, many, many of you in that, from the comms team to the voice team, but particularly Tiago, Gary, James. You have been a rock behind me this week, a rock for me to stand on, so you can see me at this height of my life. So, my final thank you is to everybody who voted. Yes, Jim, you couldn't vote. Thank you for turning up. In fact, a big thank you to to last year's SAB team, who are here in the midst, I believe. It's actually not something that happens at every single students' union, that every year sabbaticals from the previous year come for the last day of voting, and it's a tradition that I think when I first engaged with Exeter Guild 3 years ago, I was impressed by, and it's maintained ever since. So let's keep the tradition going. And this time next year, Grace and the team will suddenly emerge, and you'll all be going, "They used to be somebody." That's what people have been saying to me for the last 20 years. So anyway, a big thank you to everybody, and it's time to get on with the results. So I have the pleasure in inviting Warren, our current VP Education, to join me on the stage as we go through the first set of results in academic representation. Big round of applause, please, for Warren. Do the first two batches. Okay. So we'll do announcement of SEMPs and then announcement of business.
Good evening, welcome, and I believe this is the first time we've given or spoken about the academic representation results on the elections night, so bear with us for about half an hour. I know you're not expecting this first, but we'll just go for it. The first college we're going through first is the College of Engineering, Mathematics and Physical Sciences. So we have the subject chair results up first. Firstly, computer science. So there were 21 valid votes cast for the computer science subject chair, and Zain Habib passed quota in round 4 and is elected for that position. Second subject is engineering. There were 16 valid votes cast for engineering, and Jonathan Elliott passed quota in round 1 and is elected. The third subject is mathematics. There were 34 valid votes cast in mathematics, and Liam Sullivan passed quota in round 1 again and is elected for mathematics subject chair. Next up is natural sciences. There were 15 valid votes cast in this election, and Eleanor Barr passed quota in round 1 and is elected for natural sciences subject chair. Last up for the College of Engineering, Maths and Physical Sciences is physics and astronomy. There were 13 valid votes cast in this election, and Ben Maybury passed in round 1 and is elected as physics subject chair. We'll move straight on to business school. The first subject up is accounting and finance. There were 7 valid votes cast in this election, and Christina Ramniel Cook passed quota in round 1 and is elected for accounting and finance subject chair. Second up is economics. There were 26 valid votes cast for economics subject chair, and Alexander Pride passed in quota in round 1 and is elected for economics subject chair. Last up is management subject chair. There were 35 valid votes cast in this election, and Leo Webb passed quota in round 1 and is elected in this election. So that rounds up the first 2 colleges. I think we're going to have a bit of a break before we go back to do the other colleges. So yeah, maybe 2 minutes or so. 2 minutes or so break, and then we'll do the other colleges.
So welcome back to our coverage of tonight's event. We've just had a few of the academic election results for some of the student chairs.
Yeah, for the subject chairs. So we will have these in departments. So we've just had the business school subject chairs be announced and the medical school as well, I believe. And we're going to be back with Warren, a current VP Education, who will be announcing the rest of the subject chairs. So Lottie, do you know anyone, do you have any friends who are subject chairs?
I honestly don't know if I do. And I think what's really interesting about subject chairs is, you know, we don't do debate coverage of them at all, the same as the trustees and everything. They don't really seem as important as the rest of them. And I think it's just, no one really knows about them that much. I think we all of us question the level of bureaucracy and whether these people
absolutely
can actually achieve a lot with what they're doing. You know,
it has
as
come
a
up quite a lot.
chair, what are you actually doing? How much say do you really have within your subject?
Yeah. It makes you realise that all the levels that we have to these elections and to the guild itself, and then it does make you question, to what extent they're all necessary. Again, this has come up a lot in the debates, especially with the slate candidates fighting for change about cutting bureaucracy and everything. It's been a big buzzword of this election.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think to some extent you need a little bit, because you need lots of channels for feedback for students, and subject chairs are definitely a go-to. I remember subject chairs being very prominent when I was in first year. They had a big thing about first years standing and, being a subject chair. I know if you were interested to send an email, and I had a friend a girl who was in a seminar with me, then run subject chair, and then I remember in our seminars, in little breaks, we'd all ask her questions and actually give feedback, which she then passed on.
That's really interesting. So you see, within my year group, certainly last year and this year, I studied history, and within mine, I've never had any contact with mine. Wouldn't even know who mine are. That's
the thing. I think there was a lot of emphasis when I was in first year, but then not so much second and third year. So maybe this is something that needs to be kind of passed on as you go through. So I study English, so I'm not sure whether or not that there is a certain element of English students, humanities students in general, I think, are certainly the most engaged. The College of Humanities had the highest voter turnout in this election, and that's a trend that has been in the last few years. Humanities students do tend to get involved, and I think that says a lot.
And I think actually I wonder whether that's necessarily because we're humanities, but also because of course humanities is based on the Streatham campus. Now our lower voter turnout came from the College of Medicine and Sciences, which is based on St Luke's.
Very
is
interesting.
This potentially because the candidates just don't have the same sway down there? I know all of the candidates have tried to put themselves on St Luke's campus.
And we're going to go back to the more results now. There we go.
but not so challenging for Warren. So I'm going to hand you over to Warren.
Okay, so we're going to run through the rest of the subject chair elections now, just in the interest of time. We have one slight correction to make on the management subject chair. The elected officer there is actually Letitia Alez. So yeah, it's not Leo Webb. But however, moving on to medicine and health subject chairs. Medical imaging subject chair. There were 2 valid votes cast for medical imaging subject chair, and Rupert McLaren won in round 1 and is elected. Medical sciences, there were 54 valid votes cast, and Isabel Barkley passed quota in round 2 and is elected for that position. Medicine and surgery had 90 valid votes, and James Farquhar passed quota in round 1 and is elected for medicine and surgery subject chair. For the College of Life and Environmental Sciences, first up is Biosciences. There were 11 valid votes cast, and Lise Fournier passed quota in round 1 and is elected there. For Human Geography, this is why it didn't matter so much, Leo Webb won this election and passed the vote with 5 valid votes. So he does geography, not management. For Physical Geography, there were also 5 valid votes cast, and Isabella Jones passed quota in round 1 and is elected for that position. For Psychology, there were 21 valid votes cast, and Joe and Erin passed quota in round 1 and are elected for Psychology. Sports and Health Sciences, there were 7 valid votes cast, and Rebecca O'Dyer passed quota in round 1 and is elected there. For the College of Humanities, there are quite a few here. The first one is Archaeology. There were 20 valid votes cast for Archaeology, and Alice Dobinson passed quota in round 1 and is elected for Archaeology. For Art History and Visual Culture, there were 2 valid votes cast, and Victoria Brown passed quota in round 1 and is elected. For Classics and Ancient History, there were 15 valid votes cast, and Holly Brown and Josh Werrett passed in round 1 and are elected. For Drama, there were 8 valid votes cast, and Thomas Gunning passed quota in round 1 and is elected. For English, there were 39, and Daisy Saunders passed again in round 1 and is elected there. For Film Studies, there were 9, and Amber Giles passed quota in round 1. For Flexible Combined Honours, there were 13 valid votes cast, and Alish Netelyov passed quota in round 1 and is elected for the position. For History, there were 33 valid votes cast, and Oliver Smith passed in round 1 and is elected for History. For Liberal Arts, there were 10 valid votes cast, and Cherry Anastasia Chan passed in round 1 again and is elected for Liberal Arts. For Modern Languages, there were 18 valid votes cast, and Madison Beale passed again in round 1 and is elected for Modern Languages. For Theology and Religion, last up, there were 2 valid votes cast, and Hannah Lindsay passed quota in round 1 and is elected for Theology. We have one last college to go through, which is Social Sciences and International Studies. First up, Arab and Islamic Studies subject chair. There were 7 valid votes cast here, and Felix Goodman passed quota in round 1 and is elected for IAS. For law, there were 67 valid votes cast, and Harry Crabtree passed quota in round 1 and is elected for law. For politics, there were 56 valid votes cast, and Philippa Torres passed quota in round 1 and is elected. And last up, we have sociology, philosophy, and anthropology. There were 11 valid votes cast, and Isabel Hughes passed in round 1 again and is elected. That closes off the subject chair elections. We're going to have a short break again and then come back for the college officers before we move on to the DVPs and the rest. Thank you.
And you are back now with myself and Lottie, and that was the end of the results for the subject chairs for all the departments. And we're going to move on a little bit later. We're going to have the shadow councillor results. So shadow council has come up with quite a lot. A lot of candidates for the SAB positions have been on shadow councils and sat on various chairs.
I think most interesting, Alex Honey, bearing in mind he is a fresh, his experience has been called into question many times.
Yeah.
He quoted being on the shadow council as one of the big reasons why he was definitely suitable for the role. However, when we did research into this, we found out he's only actually been to 4 out of the 7 shadow council meetings. And I'm not sure if in any of them he actually said anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, within his manifesto, when he talks of actually holding the SABs to account, how true really is this? Is this him again just trying to, gain votes? Use the buzzwords as ever.
Yeah, it's very interesting. This actually was an audience question from Twitter, I think, last night at the debates. And it was calling into question, he is a fresh, he has only been at the university for a few months. And it's difficult to believe that he is in fact a fresher. He looks very mature and put together. He turned up in a very, very sharp looking suit last night in the debate. And it was an issue that came up, that was brought up quite a lot.
And I think that's interesting as well. He was saying during his interview during the day that actually his inexperience is a virtue. Now, I'm not sure why he thinks that exactly.
I mean, I can see it from some perspective in that coming to the guild and being if you're coming to the university and being a first year, you are kind of experiencing everything anew. So you can immediately think, oh, this was difficult, when difficulties in settling in joining societies. So, I think
one of the things he said was that you weren't going to be swayed by the guild. You didn't work for the guild properly yet, all that kind of thing. But I have to say that my biggest issue is how can he relate to what second and third years feel?
Exactly.
I'm in second year now. My first year and my second year has been entirely different, and the problems I face have been entirely different. How can he really understand what it's like to do a dissertation and the struggles of a dissertation when he's only in first year? But that's not even my biggest issue with it. My biggest issue is simply the fact that, the BLS scandal of last year, he wasn't here to see it happen, to see the outrage from students themselves. He doesn't know what that kind of thing can cause.
And also the strikes as well, which actually came up in another audience question, which Patrick had been around for. And
so one of the questions was asking, would they have supported the strikes last year? And I found myself having to say, oh, by the way, there were strikes last year. I'm not even sure if you know. And this is the issue, that he doesn't know what things are really affecting the student body, because the student body lasts 3 or 4 years going through university. If he's only been in his first year, he can't accurately represent worries and qualms of ours that have been standing there for more than just 1 year.
It's very unusual as well for a first year to run for
I'm not sure if this has
sabbatical
ever happened
elections.
before, in fact.
Yeah, it's extremely unusual, but very interesting as well. I wonder if this will, set a trend and make people realise, oh wait, you don't have to be a final year student to run for a sabbatical position, and you don't.
And I think it also has increased engagement within the first years.
Definitely.
First years, it's quite often difficult to connect with them about Guild Election Week because I think that they didn't really understand the Guild or why it's important for them, all that kind of thing. But I know that a lot of freshers, since Alex Honey's been campaigning, have been taking so much more of an interest.
Yeah, and first years have had the highest turnout this year.
Oh, interesting. That's very
stats,
interesting.
I was looking at the statistics, if I can get my words out, on the Guild website, and there's a little pie chart saying of what percentage of first, second, third, and fourth years voted in the Guild elections, and by far the biggest percentage was first years. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Alex Honey being a fresher and running for a sabbatical position. But it's also great to see that first years, maybe as we were talking about earlier, the snow influencing people who are now in second year, not getting involved as much in their first year with the student elections. And I think this is a good indication for the future, and maybe it's getting people to think very early on about, maybe they can see themselves running for SAB positions in a couple of years' time when they have more experience in the university.
So, upcoming next, we are going to have some talks of who is actually going to be winning Shadow Council. So why don't we talk about what Shadow Council is, really? Shadow Council is basically where the SABs and other leadership roles within the Guild sit down and people, the Shadow Councillors, can hold them accountable for their actions if they don't think that they have been, working through their manifesto points that they were supposed to be doing. All that kind of thing can all be held to account within a Shadow Council meeting. So, Chloe, what would you be looking for on someone sitting on Shadow Council?
You definitely want someone who is going to, scrutinise the SABs throughout their tenure over the year, make sure they keep into their manifesto, and I guess it's another link of communication between the Shadow Councillors and the SABs with the student body, and making sure that they actually do fulfil their role, and all the promises the candidates are making now in their manifestos are carried through and implemented. And it's very important, not very well known, as we've come to realise over this week in the debates, especially by members of the student body who perhaps aren't as involved with Guild politics. But it's definitely a valuable, again, bureaucratic body that definitely is necessary to hear the student voice.
I think there's the potential to say as well, what's good about Shadow Council is the fact that, as you said, it's bringing student voices to a position that needs a student voice, right?
Absolutely.
SABs are supposed to be representing the student voices, but of course by that point they're not going to be a student anymore. So there is the potential that they can become disengaged and unattached from the student body and from the things that are issues for us. So
Absolutely.
Shadow Councils, being students themselves, can reaffirm what is necessary for within the student body right now. What do we want to see right now? And I think that's really important with the Shadow Councillor.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely. And so after the Shadow Council results, we will then move on to hear some DVPs, and then get moving ever closer to the big results of the VPs for Activities, Education, Welfare, Diversity, Guild President and AU President.
And I think what will be interesting to see within the DVPs, just to say, are the Deputy Vice Presidents of all the sabbatical roles. So these people will be working in direct work with the sabbatical officers, whoever they will be elected. And I'm sure there will be many people who run for SAB positions in the next few years in amongst these DVPs.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to look at people who get elected for Shadow Council as well as DVPs. And then, you can pick out the DVPs that you could see, potentially be candidates for, future VPs and Guild Presidents, AU Presidents,
And I think it's fantastic for them to even begin sort of shadowing and understanding the role. What does this role mean? What does it attest to? What do you have to do? All that kind of stuff is also crucial in the understanding and of actually gaining the position. And I think, experience is something that's so important in all of this. So it'll be interesting to see, who out of the SABs that actually win are the ones who have experience, who have sat as DVPs or subject chairs or as shadow councillors, all these different things. Maybe actually this is the route for them to get into that position.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely been a very interesting week. I've just noticed Alex Honey has arrived and he is in the Ram. It's extremely busy in here now.
I think for a lot of candidates, after this, no matter what happens, there's going to be a bit of a booze up. I know I've seen a lot of events being created for several different candidates saying whatever's happening, there's going to be a booze up. And there's a really great atmosphere within here. You know, I think throughout campaign week, you know, it can get a little heated sometimes between people. But it's brilliant to see them all coming together now. You know, we've got Bat for Prez hats going on next to Lizzie Frisbee t-shirts, next to Liv Harvey t-shirts. It's all going on. There's a real atmosphere of inclusion, and it's fantastic to see.
Absolutely. It's been such a great week. And honestly, I know there's a lot of talk on social media of lots of students complaining about being harassed when they're walking up the hill by candidates, getting them to vote. But I mean, I kind of love it. I love the fact that we have such an active student body, people getting involved in elections. I mean, it's not even that bad. I got so many packets of Haribos and like lollipops handed to me.
The amount of cupcakes you can get is fantastic.
It's brilliant. Okay, so we're going to go to some more results now for the DVPs.
The great thing about the breaks is that you get tapped on the shoulder when you don't mention really important things that have happened during the elections. So I would like you all to show your appreciation not only for the other avenues of X Media, but Expression, please. Who have been on it every single night this week and during the day. So thank you very much. Right, we're moving on with the results for college officers. And I'm going to invite your friend of mine, Warren, back to the stage.
Okay, so this is the last of the academic representation elections results. First up, we have the college officer for engineering, maths and physical sciences. There were 87 valid votes cast in this election, and so the college officer for SEMPS is Chris Phippen. For the business school, there were 59 valid votes cast, and Felix Tira passed quota in round 1 and is elected for the business school. For the College of Medicine and Health, there were 130 valid votes cast, and Aisha Majid passed quota in round 1 and is elected for CMH. For the Life and Environmental Sciences election, there were 50 valid votes cast, and Leah Webb again won this election with 50 votes, passing in round 1 and is elected for the College Officer of CLES. For Humanities, there were 127 valid votes cast, and Catherine Fisher passed quota in round 1 and is elected for Humanities. And last up, we have the College Officer for Social Sciences and International Studies. There were 131 valid votes cast in this election, and Kian Cole Panucci passed quota in round 1 and is elected for CIS. So that rounds up the ACPREP elections. Next up we have Guild Council results, but we're going to take another quick break before we move on to those. So have another drink.
So welcome back to Expression FM's Guild Election Week coverage for 2019. We just had some more academic representation results there. Neha, you've been working as the English subject chair across this year.
Yes, I have, yes.
You have opinions on these things.
I do have opinions. I have many opinions.
What do you think of the way they sort of blasted through those results?
Well,
there are about 400 positions.
I think, yes, there are a lot of positions. The issue is there isn't much turnout for these positions.
Yes, one of them, I believe it was...
2 votes, yes, 2 valid votes.
I cannot remember. I think it was arts and visual cultures, I think it was, something like that. Either way.
Visual culture is just a module here.
That is true, yes. Either way, it was one of the positions, and you had 2 voters, but somehow still got elected, which obviously, again, you could take a criticism of them, their campaign as a whole, but there is obviously a point to be made about barely elected councils, albeit not maybe in the form that certain Final Change candidates may have been saying.
The issue here is it's not that these councils are barely elected and that therefore directly translates to these councils being invalid. The issue here is the publicisation of these councils, how much the general student knows about these councils.
Yes.
And without academic representation being nothing, so. Obviously, I'm the English subject chair.
Yes.
A lot of students know me as the English subject chair. The other reps aren't that well known, just because the structure of this council isn't well publicised.
Absolutely. So obviously, we just had the election of the new English subject chair, whose name I've forgotten.
Daisy Saunders.
That's the one. You've worked with her before, so are you happy with that result?
I am
you've got someone to sort of continue your work. Obviously, you've done a lot
ecstatic. I've spoken to Daisy quite at length before about running. Actually. I think she is going to be a fantastic subject chair. So I've laid some stuff in place this year, including like a decolonisation roundtable, which we did in conjunction with the staff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Daisy has expressed interest in continuing with this, and we're quite excited to work together in the coming term.
Okay, good. So we're going to go back to another break. We're going to be coming up with some more. I believe it was the start of the DVP positions now.
I think so, yes.
Absolutely. So we're back very soon. Do not go away. If you want to tweet us anything, we might read out some comments. So it's #ExtraVote if you want to give us a shout or anything. So yeah, be back very soon.
Or you can tell me how pretty I am.
Or you can compliment Neha. It's up to you.
Okay. Right, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you very much to Warren for taking on the academic representation announcements. I'm just going to do a little bit of an introduction. There's been different messages this afternoon going on about how we're going to read the results out for DVPs and then sabbaticals. So the way we're going to do it is each of the current sabbatical officers will be taking on a section of the results announcements. We will be listing all of the candidates in the elections. There's one consistent candidate in all of the elections called reopen nominations. Some of you call this character Ron.
Yes! Love Ron!
Okay. Just for the avoidance of doubt, Ron is not an actual human being. It is a fictitious character that gives you an option to reopen the nomination should you wish. We will then, once we have given you the list of candidates for the election that we're calling out the results for, we will tell you how many valid votes were in that election. And then we will tell you the number of votes they require to achieve what we call the quota. Because of those of you who voted understand that you were voting in preferential order. 1 for your most preferred candidate, 2 for your next preferred, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or so on, until you got bored or there was nobody else to vote for. We will then go straight to the announcement of the winner of that election, and we will tell you in what round they passed the quota. For more details on the exact numbers within the elections, these will be published by the Guild, okay? But we're not going to go through all the machinations. Some of you are not liking the idea of having calculators and stuff out there tonight. So, and I understand that. I don't like maths either. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you your VP activities for this year. Rosie!
Okay, so so I'm announcing DVP Societies and DVP Democracy and Governance, which are like my 2 babies this year. And if you are the winner and you're here, please come up and join me because this is very exciting. So we're going to start with DVP Societies. And the candidates for this post were Amber Delaney, Grace Arbour, Jeeves Sidhu, and reopen nominations. There were 1,701 valid votes cast for DVP Societies. The quota for this election was 850.5 to win, and a candidate must pass this number of votes to win. And the winner of DVP Societies for next year is Amber Delaney, who passed a quota in round 4 and is elected. She may not be here, but that's okay. And the second DVP that I'm announcing is DVP Democracy and Governance. The candidates for this post were Alex Honey, Daisy Newbold-Harrop, Lauren Mogg, and Ron. There were 1,678 valid votes cast for DVP Democracy and Governance. The quota for this election was 839 to win, and a candidate must pass this number of votes. And Daisy Newbold-Harrop passed the quota. She passed the quota in round 2 and is elected.
A sentence. Holy crap. Thank you to everybody who voted. I was very shocked at the voter turnout, and I think this bodes well for my future term in office, where I'll be getting all you guys to engage more in democracy. So, hope to see more of this. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're now moving swiftly on to the announcement of the second set of DVP posts. And I'm going to invite your current VP Welfare and Diversity, Rose.
Amazing. So the roles that I'm going to be announcing this evening are DVP Sustainability, DVP Wellbeing, and DVP Equality. First of all, beginning with DVP Sustainability, one of the most important positions in my opinion. The candidates for this post are Lottie Robinson and Ron. Go, Ron. There were 1,712 valid votes cast for DVP Sustainability. The quota for this election was 856. To win, a candidate must pass this number of votes. Lottie Robinson passed quota in round 1 and is elected. Amazing. Now on to DVP Wellbeing. The candidates for this post are Catherine Stocker, Florian Roma, Lizzie Connick, Talifa Igna, and reopen nominations. There were 1,725 valid votes cast for DVP Wellbeing. The quota for this election is 862.5. Not sure about 2.5. To win, a candidate must pass this number of votes. Lizzie Connick passed quota in round 4 and is elected. And last but not least, moving on to DVP Equality. The candidates for this post are Dristi Wadhadna, Hannah Rashbas, Kate Phipps, Maria Bossetti, and reopen nominations. There were 1,667 valid votes cast for DVP Equality, and quota for this election is 833.3. To win, a candidate must pass this number of votes. Hannah Rashbas passed in quota 4 and is elected. I think that's it from me. Back to Scott.
Big round of applause please for Rose. Okay, and so we're going to move on to the third set of DVP posts, including shadow councillors and student trustees. And so for that, I would like to invite your current president, Grace, to the stage.
Words. Right, hi everybody. So first I'll be announcing, this is very high, I'll be announcing DVP International. So the candidates for this post are Florian Roma, Kakabadze, Soesh Singh, Tabia Hussain, Yudi Wu, and Ron. There were 1,702 valid votes cast for DVP International. The quota for this election was 851 to win, and a candidate must pass this. I feel like you know all this by now, but they must pass this to number of votes to be elected. And Yudi Wu passed quota in round 5 and is elected. Next is the Guild Chair. The candidates for this post are Dan Easterbrook, Javier Monroy Yepes, and Ron. There were 2,001 valid votes cast for Guild Chair. The quota for this election is 1,000.5. to win, a candidate must pass this, and Dan Easterbrook passed quota in round 1 and is elected. Congratulations.
I don't really know what to say. I never do. Thank you all for voting. Thank you very much to Delane. Thank you very much to all of Voice. And yeah, let's have another great year. Thank you very much.
So next I will announce our Shadow Council, so there will be 12 positions for this. The candidates for this post are Alex Honey, Alexander Hanna, Dan Easterbrook, Grace Arbour, Harry Burton, Ivan Tabakov, Javier Monroy Yepes, Christina Bahmutovo, Lauren Mogg, Suesh Singh, Bank apparently, Sweeta Koteka, and Ron. Okay, no, never mind. Yeah, I've got it. There were 1,487 valid votes cast for Shadow Councillor. The quota for this election is variable. I'm not going to read that out, I'm really sorry. That's very confusing. The candidates that you voted are Grace Arbour, Alex Honey, Lauren Mogg, Christina Bahmutovo, Harry Burton, Alexander Hanna, Javier Monroy Yepes. They all passed quota in the Koteka passed quota in round 3 is elected, and Suesh Singh passed quota in round 4 and is elected. There is still 2 vacant seats for Shadow Councillor, which will be filled by election in October 2019. Finally, I'll be announcing Student Trustee. So the candidates for this position are Daisy Newhold-Harrott, Evelyn Tompkins, Harry Burton, Jack Watts, Christina Bahmutovo, Sweeta Koteva, and Ron. And there were 2,037 valid votes cast for Student Trustee. And the 4 elected officers are Daisy Newbold-Harrott, Jack Watts, Harry Burton, and Christina Bahmutovo. I'd like to welcome you up on stage if you're here. Anyone here? No? Okay. Congratulations, guys.
Okay, everyone, a big shout out for Grace, our president. We are now 10 minutes away from learning who the PVP postgraduate research, who the new VP Welfare and Diversity, who the new VP Activities, who the new VP Postgraduate, VP Education, Athletic Union President and Guild President are for 1920. We're coming back in 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes.
We could also talk about it being in the RAM potentially on a Friday night.
Are we introducing ourselves first? Who's speaking first?
Yeah?
Who's speaking
Wait,
first?
Are you? I don't. Me? You? I don't mind.
You go. Okay. Where's the camera? Is it there?
Do we look at the
Do
camera?
we look into the camera?
Do we look into the camera?
Oh God.
No, surely we should look at each other.
I'll talk to you. Well, when we're talking to the camera.
Okay.
Hello, this is Talin. Hi, this is Talin.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here. We're currently going to be reporting on the elections that are happening so far. Have you enjoyed the announcements that have been made, Sophia?
I think it's been interesting because, as we've known, these parts of the elections don't normally get announced live.
Yeah,
so I think in previous years it's been on Twitter.
Yeah, we've just had academic representation, the DVPs, student trustees, and now we're going to go into VP postgrad and then all the main roles. I feel like we were like live for a bit with no, like they were just recording us. Oh my days. Hello, my name is Talin, and
Hello,
for
I'm
breakfast
Sophia.
I had a bowl of porridge with coconut milk, and it was nice. I added seeds and.
Do I talk into this microphone?
I
Do I
don't know.
test? Do I continue?
I can really hear myself. I can hear music. I can hear music.
Yeah, music's playing really
Student Guild. It's going to be another half an hour.
Order. We are about to announce the results of the officers that are paid in some capacity to do their roles. Before we do that, though, just want to give you some stats, just to prolong it a little bit more, you know. Does anybody want to know the stats? Boo. Tough. I've got the microphone. Here we go. Overall, in these elections, across all of the elections you've heard about so far tonight and the ones that are about to be announced, 5,609 individual students voted. They cast 36,837 votes across all those elections. And that means that our turnout this year is 26.59%. Those of you who like to round up will say it's 27%, but I'm telling you it's 26.59%. There we go. Without further ado, or maybe a little bit of further ado, while we wait for Ben Q, just relax, hum, it's all okay. Keep on swimming, keep on swimming. Okay, while we're sorting the main screen out behind me, I'm going to tell you who's going to come up for each of the announcements. So for the announcement of the Pro Vice President Postgraduate Research, our current Pro Vice President Postgraduate Taught will be making the announcement. Tom Allers. And then the announcement of VP Welfare and Diversity will be made by Rose. The announcement of VP Activities will be made by Rosie. The announcement of VP Postgraduate will be made by Josip. Grace. I didn't think I'd seen Josip, and now I know why. By Grace, there we go. An announcement of VP Education will be made by Warren. The announcement of AU President will be made by Stuart Fisher, who's the Vice President of the AU. And then, finally, we will go to the announcement of Guild President, and that will be made by this year's President, Grace. So, I think that's about all you're going to hear from me tonight. Thanks for your attention. I'm going to hand over now to Tom Allers. Tom.
Thank you, everyone. I only found out I was doing this about 60 seconds ago, so apologies if I'm a little bit off. I've been lucky enough to talk to both of the candidates, and not reopen nominations, but both of the candidates running in this election in the run-up. So whoever wins, it'll be a great pleasure to present it to them. The candidates for the post of PVP Postgraduate Research are Tayyiba Hussain, Virginia Thomas, and reopen nominations. There were 213 valid votes cast for the role. Quota for this election is 106.5. To win, a candidate must pass this number of votes. After 2 rounds of voting, Virginia Thomas passed quota 2 and is elected. And she is away today, I've just realised.
Thank you, Tom. Without further ado, let's go to Rose.
I am delighted to be announcing the result for the Vice President for Welfare and Diversity, in my honest opinion, the best role at the Guild. The candidates for this post are Amelie Sievers, Katie Hurd, and reopen nominations. There were 2,920 valid votes cast for VP Welfare and Diversity. The quota for this election is 1,460 to win. A candidate must pass this number of votes. Without further ado, I am delighted to announce that your Vice President for Welfare and Diversity 2019 and 20 is Katie Hurd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rose. And now from Rose to Rosie.
Well, here we go. We've just had the results for
That was incredibly interesting.
PGR, for Virginia Thomas, who is not here, and we're just about to hear the results of VP activities.
We just had the results for VP Welfare and Diversity.
I've had a great time this year, and it's so exciting to be able to hand over to whoever it might be coming next for VP activities. The candidates for this post are Jack Morwood, Kate Loosemore, Liv Harvey, Lizzie Frisbee, and reopen nominations. There were 3,068 valid votes cast for VP activities. And the quota for this election is 1,534 to win, and a candidate must pass this number of votes. So, the winner of VP activities for the next coming year is, if I can get in, Liv Harvey. Is she here? Liv Harvey, if you'd like to come up to the stage.
So we've just had the announcement of VP Welfare and Diversity and VP Activities announced.
Yeah, VP Welfare Diversity is Katie Hurd.
Can we talk about that very quickly? I feel like that's quite an interesting winner, because
I'm shocked.
From the debates that we saw, Amelie, in my opinion, was very strong.
Oh God! You happy to make a sentence? Maybe. You got anything to say? Oh lol. By my tears, you can tell I absolutely didn't think I was gonna get this. This is so stupid. I'm so sorry. I've cried like 5 times today. I just want to say it's been so lovely to see how passionate the other candidates are, and like we've all got on so much this week. And honestly, this has been the craziest week of my life. I actually can't believe it. But thank you so much, everyone who voted. Let's get you a drink.
Okay, thank you, Rosie. Let's go to Grace.
Hi guys, sorry Josip couldn't be here today. He's in London, so you have to put up with me. I'm here to announce the winner of VP Postgraduate, and the candidates for this post are Kate Bayard and reopen nominations. There were 251 valid votes cast for VP Postgraduate, and the quota for this election was 125.5. I am happy to announce, this is harder to get in than you'd expect. I'm happy to announce that Kate Bayard is elected.
Solidarity forever! Solidarity forever! Solidarity forever! 'Cause the union makes us strong! So, we've had a very interesting couple of results released, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So we've just had the results for VP Activities, VP Welfare Diversity, PVP, PGR, and
Warren.
So, continuing the ACREP theme from earlier, all of these candidates come from the academic representation system, and so I'm delighted to announce the winner for BP Education, for which the candidates for this post are Enes Baylor, Jack Heinsohn, Penny Dean, and reopen nominations. There were 3,137 valid votes cast for VP Education this year. The quota for this election is 1,568.5. To win, a candidate must pass this number of votes. And so the VP Education for 2018-19 is, after 3 rounds of voting, Penny Dean passed quota and is elected as VP Education.
I'd like to do a massive shout out to my 2 campaign managers, Jasmine and Nicole. They've been helping me so much. Yeah. And I'd like to shout out to all international students at University of Exeter. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on very swiftly to the announcement of Athletic Union President. Let's have Stuart to make the announcement, please.
Ladies and gents, thank you all for being here today at the end of what I'm sure has been an incredibly busy week for you all. Amy Clegg sadly couldn't be with us tonight and has asked me to deputise for her in announcing this result. We've watched the campaigns this week and the debate on Tuesday, and I have to say we are so fortunate to have 2 such incredibly talented candidates in the running to be the next AU president. Huge credit to both of them. But there can only be one winner, and the candidates for this post are Cameron Taylor, Will Wallace, and reopen nominations. There were 3,608 valid votes cast for Athletic Union President. The quota for this election is 1,804 to win. A candidate must pass this number of votes to be elected. And so the winner to be AU President next year is Cameron Taylor, who passed our quota on first round and is duly elected.
Well, thank you. First things first, massive respect to Will Wallace and his campaign team for running an excellent campaign. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what to say, but my hopes are high, so watch out for the future. There'll be big things, so thank you.
Okay, should we have a break? Really? You sure? Thank you. Wanted a break for a moment, but here we go. So you have voted for no break, so let's get on with it. For the final time this evening, I'd like to invite your guild president and mine, Grace, to the stage.
Right, so before I announce the guild president for next year, I just want to say congratulations to everyone that's taken part, whether you were a candidate or on a campaigns team, or whether you voted. Thank you to Expression for running all of the debates. Thank you to all the media and just everyone that's been involved over this last week. It's been really, really tough, but everyone has pulled off such an amazing week and amazing campaigns. So without further ado, the candidates for the post of guild president for 2019-20 are Alex Honey, Patrick Hoyle, and reopen nominations. There were 3,891 valid votes cast for guild president, and the quota was 1,945.5. And that makes a big difference, the 0.5. So, I am happy to announce that your president for next year is Patrick Hoyle.
Right, hiya, good evening all. So, I think I have to say something. Hello. Thank you all, thank you all for coming out. It's really, really cool to see so many of you. So, 500 stickers, 300 bookmarks, 7 caps, 40 campaigners, one video producer, 5 days on Forum Hill, non-stop, like literally like 8 hours. It was crazy, man. 4 months of planning, 3 years in the making. Here we are. Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you to my housemates, Tina, Izzo, Hannah, who got me through this. Ash, my campaign manager, she's amazing. Ella, my mum, she's over there. She's not really my mum. Aisha, who helped make my very memorable video. And just everyone who's been a part of this incredible campaign, from being in the video, campaigning on Forum Hill this past week, and just voting as well. And one more thing. Xmedia, you were mean about my shirt on the debate, so as a big, how dare you, I've worn my loudest shirt tonight. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
And so that's it. Thank you all very, very much for everything you've done for the elections this week. Thank you for being here tonight. Celebrate with all of the campaigners and their candidates. They have been magnificent. Thank you all very much. Good night.
So there we have it. They are all the results that have just been announced for the new sabbatical team for the academic year 2019 to 2020. And I'm here now with Kate Bayard, who's our new postgraduate VP. How does it feel?
It hasn't sunk in yet, actually. Yeah, no, I was convinced I was going to get Ron. Like, I have money on it, actually. So
really,
that's a tenner I've lost. But you know,
no way. I don't believe that. That was you run such an amazing campaign, I have to say, and
it
was a privilege talking to you. On that one-on-one debate on Monday night, which was incredible to hear your manifesto. So, what are you looking forward to for the next kind of handover season that's going to happen?
I'm looking forward to. What am I looking forward to? Oh my God, I can't think. I'm looking forward to putting my manifesto into place. Yep. I'm looking forward to centering marginalised students. Oh, hello.
Wow. Okay. Well, we might have to leave it. Okay.
No,
so
that's absolutely fine. Thank you for talking to me.
Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Hello and welcome to the election coverage on Expression FM. We have just had all of the positions announced. How crazy has it been, Sophia?
It's been quite exciting. You can feel the tension in the room, I think, when the results were getting released. Everyone was quiet, everyone sat silent in anticipation.
Most definitely, especially as some of the candidates it wasn't sure there weren't any definite winners for some of the positions.
Definitely. I think especially for activities and AU, I think it was a very tight call, so it's quite exciting to see the release of those votes.
Most definitely. One that's really interesting to me was VP Welfare and Diversity.
Yeah.
Because we had two candidates, which were Amelie Sivers, sorry, I don't know.
It's a hard one to pronounce, I think.
And Katie Hurd, I do believe. And I'm not sure if that's correct, Katie Hurd. It is running, and Katie was the one who was successful. And I am really interested by that, because apparently she was on the Hill a lot today and was really persuading people to vote for her, which is completely amazing.
I was sat in one of the library, the group study rooms, which kind of looks over Forum Hill, and me and my group of friends, we were actually saying how surprising it was. The amount of people that were genuinely campaigning right up until 2 minutes before 4.
Yeah.
It's very crazy, but I've personally seen Amelie's campaign more.
I agree. And also, I will be honest, I think her performance was a lot stronger in the debate. She knew her facts, she knew her knowledge.
I'm gonna have to agree with that as well. And I didn't know whether I was allowed to say that or not, but I did personally feel as though Amelie was a very strong candidate. She's someone that I'd seen a lot on campus, even since her first year. She's been a very active student in terms of activities in the guilds, dealing with well-being. She's had quite a prominent role, I think, on a lot of committees and a lot of societies. So I do find that quite surprising, because I went on my year abroad last year, and even I knew that Amelie was still doing things then. So I was like, we've got a clear winner here. And then Katie has just completely come out of nowhere.
Well, I guess it shows that going through the guild and being a career guildie, as some may say, isn't successful. I'm having strange faces look at me like that's not a thing. But you know how you get career politicians who work their way through different positions in Parliament?
And definitely it might show the strength as well of campaigning on the Forum Hill.
Yeah.
That makes a real difference, maybe making your face known to people, going up to people a bit more. I personally haven't seen the campaign as much, but it's worked.
Yeah. Let's talk about present, the big role.
The big role.
So we just had announced that Patrick beat Alex Honey.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that was a surprise or not, to be honest.
I wasn't surprised. Personally.
No, I wasn't surprised. However, I think Alex Honey ran a really interesting campaign, which was anti-establishment. Trying to break the mould and work against the guild, and I didn't know if people would be for that, to be honest.
I think the entire concept of the slate was a rather interesting one, even when looking on all candidates from across the platform, because I think traditionally if one person doesn't win from the slate, the entire slate pulls out. I think normally it's either we're all in or not, and obviously I interviewed VP Education, they said, well, if I win, I will still be going forward. So I think the entire concept of the slate that they used was a very interesting one.
Interesting about the slate, so we had 4 individuals on the slate. We had Jack Hindson for education, we had Alex Honey for president, and we had Jack Morwood for activities, but also Harry Burton for student trustee. And Harry Burton was actually successful. He was voted in as one of the student trustees.
Oh, there we go.
He was the only person on the slate. And it's quite interesting because he was an incumbent. He's a student trustee this year. So perhaps that's what worked for him.
Definitely. He already had that maybe foot in the door.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about the slate was that their hashtag was
Fighting for Change.
Fighting for Change, yeah. Do you think the guild, do you think people would have wanted a change? Obviously not, because they didn't vote for the majority of the state. But
I think that's an interesting question, because I think people do want a change in the guild. I think a lot of people are starting, there's a lot of frustration, I think, within the guild. I think a lot of societies are frustrated with the guild. I think a lot of student-led companies are getting frustrated with them.
Yeah.
I think people definitely want to see a change. I think what maybe was more negative were the connotations that were linked with them. So maybe the background that some of them had in their views politically, and even though that supposedly shouldn't be reflected in your policies, I think a lot of people were put off voting for them for that reason. I think some of the points in their manifestos also came across a bit Trumpy. Even the concept of build a wall that was given by Jack Hindson, even though it's a very valid point, building some sort of soundproof system
I would agree.
Might have been a better way of phrasing it. But making a point build a wall almost adds more Trumpist connotations.
It is trying to raise some kind of reaction, basically.
Definitely, and I think that's what the slate was all about.
What was quite interesting, though, was that despite, I was about to say that none of them won. I mean, obviously, that is quite interesting. Let's talk about VP activities.
Yes.
So we had the 4 candidates running for VP activities, which was the most out of all of the positions.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very tight one, I thought.
Do you think having more candidates running for one position is better, having a wider range of candidates? Or do you think it's best to have 2 people running head-to-head, you know who they are, you know what their manifesto points are, and not a diluted system?
Oh, I don't think it really matters. I think, you know, if you think that you're going to be good for that role, if you think you're going to bring something special, if you think that, you know, you're going to bring something new to the table, then I don't care if there's 10 of you running. I will sit through your manifestos and I will pay attention. I will make the right decision.
Yeah.
I think, you know, what is the issue maybe sometimes with 4 people going is people are lazy. People don't want to read through 4 different manifestos before they vote. They want to see who they know, see the main points, you know, quickly vote through, get that discount on the RAM basket. And I'm not sure whether...
I wonder how many people have got their discount on the RAM basket. Apparently it was 25p. Worth it.
Yeah, it is. You know, we're students. Every little helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I think normally it is good. If you think that you're going to offer something new, you should run. Although it is easier, obviously, to compare 2 candidates. But I think only having 2 candidates can sometimes put you in the situation where you know that one candidate is stronger than the other.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought it was very good with AU Prez. They were very neck and neck, I thought. They were both very worthy candidates. And, you know, that's always great. I think competition between 2 people that are on par is great.
Yeah.
I think when you've got 2
because
candidates
then
going,
it's the details and you can see the effort put through campaigning, for example, and the manifesto points.
Exactly. Like, they need to fight harder. I think when you've got 2 people who you can clearly see maybe one stronger winner than the other, then it almost becomes a bit futile.
So just quickly before we have our candidates that we're going to come and interview, I just wanted to mention a really interesting point, and that was the demographics of the sabbatical team this year.
Okay.
So in my first year, so I think that was from 2016 to 17, we had an all-male group.
Yeah.
In second year, we had an all-female group.
Yeah.
In my third year, we've got 1 male and rest females. And now I think we've got 1 male and all females.
Oh,
no,
is it?
Yeah, 1 male and all females again. Do you think that's interesting that there's not so much diversity in the genders running and getting elected?
Oh, that's a hard one, because I think as well when
or
you
is
look at
there no relevance maybe?
I don't know, because I don't know. I think that's definitely a very interesting thing to say, and I'm not gonna be here acting as though I know realistically.
Yeah.
But I think maybe for certain things like well-being and diversity, maybe some people might say as that's quite a nurturing role stereotypically.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know, but some people might just be like, oh.
No, as in a male wouldn't necessarily run for welfare and diversity.
Yeah, like stereotypically. I mean, I don't think that's correct.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what some views have. Maybe some people have those views. When it comes to activities, I think we had 4 girls running.
Yeah.
That's quite telling. I think, you know, there's probably something that we could look at there as to why there's more girls running in activities.
It's very interesting. It's a really good point you make.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, Talim.
Well, I do believe that we're now going to have the new VP Education elected position holder now, Penny Din. Can we have Penny?
Penny, come on through.
Hi, Penny.
What am I going to do?
You are going to answer the questions that I'm going to ask you.
Hello.
How are you doing? How do you feel?
It's so surreal. Like this week has gone so quick. Like this time last week, I was recording in Expression Studio, like my 1-minute manifesto, and now I'm here. I've won.
Congratulations on winning.
Thank you.
How did you find campaigning?
I actually love it. It's been so fun to talk to so many different people, and it feels like I actually enrich my student experience and enrich my understanding of students, the way they think about their current education experience.
Yeah.
And it confirms to me that my manifesto has been pretty solid, and I'm quite excited to work it out over the summer.
Definitely. Is there anything you learned from this process of standing for sabbatical officer?
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It takes a lot of bravery. I think one of the favorite things that I did in preparation for this week was preparing for the debate.
Definitely. I saw your notes. You had a lot of notes.
Yeah, I do have a lot of notes. I've got a big campaign team, and they helped me watch past debates and just wrote down all the questions. And they just fire questions at me, especially in unexpected situations, just to see how I answer questions, and it really helped me with the debate the other day.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I think the question everyone wants to know is how you'll be celebrating this evening.
I don't know actually. I might just go like say thank you to all of my campaign team. They've all done fantastically to help me out, especially those who couldn't campaign face to face to me, but helped me behind the scene, like with preparing for my debate and sharing things online, because a lot of people actually recognize me from things that have been shared about me online, and I so appreciate what my online campaign team have done for me.
So do you think having a really big online presence is beneficial, and do you think that being on the Hill and being more visible is more important, or the social media aspect?
I think it's a little bit of both, because the thing is social media has been a big thing for students' life now, and when you're sort of attacked by people on the Hill, it's a bit like weird and scary sometimes. I remember when I was in first year, I would avoid the Hill at all costs. Like, I'd rather do my own research than talk to people.
Yeah.
So I think online presence is definitely very important, and I'd like to maintain that when I become Vice President Education.
Okay, cool. Have you done any work this week? How's your degree doing?
It's actually okay. I've been to 2 lectures out of 3 this
Impressive.
week. Yeah, they're actually quite interesting.
Okay, Penny, well, is there anything that you want to say to the electorate or your campaign team?
I just want to say, let's decolonize this curriculum. Yes.
Great, thanks, Penny. We're going to move
Styling.
on to the next candidate. Very interesting, guys. So I'm Chloe Shaw here now with Liv Harvey, who is the new VP
I'm gonna cry again.
Activities. How does it feel?
I have cried many times today. I am actually a little bit speechless, which is unusual for me.
Yeah.
I actually genuinely didn't think I was going to get it, and I mean that. Like, I know
Really?
people say it, but I actually meant it. And,
Yeah.
like, all of the candidates were so passionate, and that was so lovely to see, and we all got on really well, and
Yeah.
they were all incredible people, and I just want to thank everyone in my campaign team and my family at home, and yeah, and everyone who voted.
Yeah, what are you looking forward to most now for the starting the handover process in the role?
I'm just so excited to get into everything. I've wanted this role for so long. I'm genuinely
Really?
I want a year and a half ago. I decided I really wanted to go for this.
Amazing.
After speaking to Becca and Rosie, and I'm just so excited to get started and for next year. And it's such an incredible team.
Yeah.
We've just all had a big picture
amazing.
of a hug, and it's going to be the best
So
year.
great. So what do you think was the kind of a key campaign strategy that helped you obviously get votes and appeal to voters?
I think so. I had an incredible campaign manager, Harry, and he was really, really good at encouraging people to come out.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing to do is get as many people on the Hill in your colour as possible.
Yeah.
And it, that really, 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 really made a difference. And my campaign team were the most enthusiastic, energetic people in the whole world, and it was so much they
Amazing.
wanted it for me as much as I wanted it for myself. So.
Yeah, amazing. What about, we talked a lot in the pre-show about
Yes.
social media presence as well.
Yeah.
How did you go about kind of doing that for your team?
Instagram was the key. I don't feel as many people were kind of tracking my things on Facebook, but Instagram and stories. And literally, I kind of just went through I was just following anyone. I don't even think half of them went to this uni, but I was like follow. And that was really, really helpful. And I had a lot of responses from that. So that I think social media wise, Instagram was the biggest thing for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you'd like to say to your fellow candidates that missed out on the role? Because obviously it was the most
just
competitive
an
role with
incredible
4 of you.
congratulations. Yeah, they were all amazing, and we all got on throughout the week and were chatting and things, and I spoke to so many people who were like, no one can call it, and I honestly almost didn't come tonight because I was like,
so difficult.
Yeah,
Such a hard
exactly.
category.
And I didn't think I was going to get it because everyone else is so ridiculously qualified and passionate about the role. So just a huge well done, and I really want to carry forward the points they took from them on their manifestos too, because obviously they were so incredibly valid. Yeah, just a huge well done to everyone for this week. It's been a crazy one.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming to
Thank
chat
you
to
so
us,
much.
and congratulations again,
Thank you.
Liv. This is Liv
Thanks.
Harvey, your new VP Activities
Thank you so much.
2019-20. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm just going to climb myself.
Will she ever stop crying?
Fantastic, and I am now here with our new AU president. Does that feel a bit weird to say?
It does, yes, it really does. I'm ecstatic. So I'm lost for words right now.
Fantastic. Were you expecting the result?
I think it was very tight. I think I was expecting a tight result because I think Will's campaign was really, really strong. Such a visible presence in the forum the whole week, and his social media was really, really good as well. So I was expecting a very close one. So yeah, it means a lot.
Fantastic. And why do you think that you won over him? Do you think it was your manifesto pulled out? What from your manifesto?
I mean, I think maybe some of my manifesto points, I've been quite bold with some of the stuff that's in there, and I think there are some things that I'm looking at doing which is quite new. So I'm guessing that must have resonated with quite a few people. I'm hoping it does. So, it means a lot if people read my manifesto and were happy with it. Then, I feel good.
Fantastic. And what does the rest of the night hold for you?
We'll see.
Brilliant, brilliant. What are you most looking forward to putting into place next year?
Lots, really. I think the constitutions will be quite exciting. A lot of the stuff on culture, inclusion, I think is very, very important. And hopefully people should see the effects of that and the change of that. It's I'm a different person, and I'm not afraid to be bold and to challenge things as well. So it should be an exciting, and I think you'll see change over the next season and over the next year. So I think the future is bright.
Brilliant. And I don't know, have you seen Amy Clegg tonight at all? I don't think she's here tonight, is she?
No, she isn't. But
what are you going to be taking from her legacy?
A lot, to be honest. But yeah, I'm probably going to have to, recollect my thoughts probably tomorrow when it's all settled, and then properly think about what's coming up. But yeah,
brilliant.
Certainly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations, Cam.
Thank
That's
you.
brilliant.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
We are now going to pass over to Pat, who is going to be with us in 5 minutes' time. So I'm just going to keep you on for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, go
We're
for
going
it.
to keep on talking about it. Oh, we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it. I'm just going to ramble for you instead. Thank you, Cam, for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
No worries at all. Thank you so much. You can go ahead and leave now. Go and celebrate part of the night away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, get it
I'm
on
sure
to
we'll
that,
be
I
seeing
think.
you in TP, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Ed, am I still live on that? Did any of my interview go out? Okay. Chloe, what's your password?
Which one's the white one again? Is it the red one?
Yeah.
Oh god, it's such a mess. Hold on. Let's just quickly untangle a little bit.
Yeah,
that would be me. Right.
1 second, Ellie. You're going to go to this one and this mic, okay?
Hello.
Okay. Sandra, you good?
Wait, we're going. Okay, so we are live here with the new guild president. Okay, we're apparently not live according to Ishigurung. I've been giving mixed responses here, so cut the feed, Xander. Apologies about that. It's been a long week. It's been a long week. Okay. That's so bright. Yeah, no, Chloe and Lottie have been there all evening. It's been in front of this light and it's so warm over here. I had to get a drink because I just could not. I was like, I couldn't be doing it. Hello. 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 Ish, can you turn up my mic, please? According to Scott. Is that better, Scott? Okay.
Okay, right, sorry. Apologies for the technical difficulties tonight. It's been a very, very long week, as you might imagine. I am here now, finally. I promise it's the last thing. We actually will go eventually. With Patrick Hall, who's just been elected Guild President of the University of Exeter Students Guild. How are you feeling? It's a very loaded question, I know.
Yes. I'm feeling a lot of things at the moment. Way too many. All my words have been stolen from me during the course of this week. So unfortunately, all these emotions I cannot express. But I sort of can't believe it. There's just so much going on, and I can't believe it. But I feel like excited, like ready to go, ready to start.
Yeah. So obviously, you had some comments about your T-shirts throughout the week. Your shirts, rather.
Thank you.
And since you're lost for words now, I suppose this T-shirt speaks 1,000 words.
She does.
As they say.
She does.
What are you going to be? Are you going to continue in this theme across your time as Guild President, or are you going to be sort of toning it down and being more, plain? Or are you going to? I would stick to your roots.
I would hope that if anyone has seen me at all during this week, they would know that I'm hardly one for quieting down on my fashion choices.
Absolutely.
I plan to. Maybe I'll start a thing like every like I don't know which shirt is the president wearing. I have no idea.
Well, it's like you're still Jim Balshaw's Thunder instead of Joke of the Day got shirt of the day, but I suppose that's just wearing a different shirt every day.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same. Obviously, are you going to be celebrating at all tonight, or you said I was just talking to you off air. You said your mates have stolen your wallet.
Yes, they have actually. They've stolen my wallet and taken it home. So no more drinks for me. But I've already had a number of G&Ts this evening.
Yes.
So as a small, tired, dehydrated, very hungry man, I'm not sure more gin is the answer here.
Is it just a kebab and home then, or is it?
I mean, I think that's the dream, really.
That is the dream.
That's the dream, and I think that's what's happening. I do plan to hibernate for 48 hours, and then I shall emerge back into the world Monday morning, 9 a.m. My degree is calling me.
I was going to say, you've got a lot to catch up on now, I'm assuming.
Yes, I do.
Say, so obviously you're going to be working with your team members up on the board there. Your new co-workers as of July, I believe it is.
Yes,
how are you feeling about working with them? Is anyone in particular you've sort of come across before, or are some of them sort of slight strangers to you? I don't know.
Well, Penny, I know very well. I've known her for a number of years now.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to work with her. Cam, I'm really excited to work for as well. He's a real sweetie. Only met him during campaigns week. He's a real sweetie.
Yeah.
Liv, I know. She's great. She's so much fun. Katie as well. I was absolutely... Kate,
yes.
Nice. I'm tired.
It's been a long week.
Oh,
we'll cut you some slack.
I know, but Kate, no, I was blown away by what she was doing on the hill. I absolutely blown away. I think she's going to do amazing. And I'm genuinely am excited to work with these people. Cool. I think it's going to be fantastic.
And you don't have to get a grad job.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I do not.
You don't have to worry about. Well, you've got another 6 months to start worrying about your next employment. So there you go. You've deferred it completely.
I've got a plan for that anyway, so it's all fine. This was just
get you with your preparation and job prospects.
I wouldn't go far as calling it preparation, but
there you go. Lovely.
I've got things sorted.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure to talk to you across the week. I wish you the best of luck. I will not be here next year, obviously. Most of our team won't be.
I know.
Because we're a mixture of year abroad people and graduates. But so good luck with everything. We will be going back to Chloe and Lottie very shortly. So Chloe and Ish, I believe it was. Yes, again, been a long week. So yes, any last words before you sort of go off and have your kebab and have your bed?
I guess I just want to say thank you. Just thank you to everyone who engaged with this election. It's so important. And I can't wait. I really can't wait for next year and to start moving forward and start making real good changes. And I can't wait for that. I really can't wait. And I hope many of you can join me on that journey. I know some of you can't, but I hope many of you can.
We'll be watching from afar. Anyway, thank you, Patrick. We will see you around campus for you to catch up on your degree work.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Awesome. Lovely.
The last pair of headphones are on the floor.
Oh wow, this is crazy.
I know, we are back, and this time, unfortunately with me, who unfortunately I have not been on here, but I actually thought it was really important, as we are coming to the end of Guild Election Week, that we actually talk to our fantastic hosts who have worked so hard this week. Chloe and Lottie, you've been absolutely amazing, and on behalf of, not on behalf of the Guild, but on behalf of Expression, and I'm sure the rest of X Media, first of all, thank you. But before we go to that, I really wanted to actually ask you about your experience as, the debates of the hosts, or the hosts of the debates rather, because of course the two of you have had, I think, a greater interaction with the candidates and also a different interaction with the candidates than perhaps most. So I know that you've been asked quite frequently tonight how you thought the candidates presented themselves, but how have you found the experience? I see, Chloe, that you've got tears in your eyes.
I'm so emotional. This is so crazy and overwhelming, and I'm so happy that it's all over, but also really sad at the same time.
Aww.
It's been, all of the candidates have been.
Am I allowed to give you a hug? Interject here.
All the candidates, and Lottie, I'm sure you'll agree, they've been so accommodating and so lovely to us, and we've, at many times we've had to be quite harsh on the manifesto points and scrutinise, as is our job, and they've taken it all so well, all of them, and congratulations to all of the candidates. Whether or not they were successful and won, it was incredible to work with them all. They're all amazing individuals who, showed great confidence and great personalities to actually be able to stand up and run. And it's been amazing to host this week. It's been incredible.
Lottie, just coming to you. So throughout this week, we've had a lot of engagement through, both alumni and also our students who have really been commenting on how well you've both chaired the debates, as well as, of course, Sophia, who hosted the VP Education debate. Now, it's been really, really impressive. But Lottie, in terms of, this being I believe, your first Guild election week, in full force, how have you found it to be, harsh but fair? Have you found that there's been a balance, particularly as you've known some of the candidates personally?
I think it has been a really important thing this year. I knew Liv Harvey and Lizzie Frisbee running for VP Activities, so I made sure that I was not involved in any of their debates or interviews or anything else. But I think what Chloe and I have really strived to do this year is strike the right tone. And from what we've heard from the incumbent SABs and from previous SABs, they said, we really cracked that this year. And I think what was really important in our coverage is that it was harsh but fair, exactly as you said. It's important to scrutinise those manifestos and to keep them accountable, because the last thing you want them to do is promise to do things that just aren't feasible, or they've not checked with other people, things like that. And that was a really strong thing on our part. You had to be hard on them. And if they weren't giving you a good enough answer, you could say, right, actually, I don't think that was a good enough answer. Please continue. And doing that in the correct way. And I think that was something that Chloe and I really were striving for. And I personally, I think we really cracked that one on the head. I think we did well there.
You certainly did. Now, finally, how have you found this week, outside of course, doing all of the work that you've been doing? What would you say to those who would be keen to get involved in Guild Election Week? Would you recommend this as an experience?
Do it. Just do it.
People would have heard us complain about this being the bane of our existence for the last month. But oh my gosh, the payoff is incredible. It's the people you get to meet, the absolute, having to problem solve while on the job. You'll know all of the tech issues we've had this week.
Certainly.
It's all been worth it, and it's all been incredible. So do not get involved with the team and just this has been incredible.
Just so our audience at home are sort of aware of the situation that's been happening, would you care to share how many hours of hard work and effort has gone into this? How many months back are we backdating this?
From January.
Even late December, I think we were already talking about this.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was. It's so much work has gone into this. Just from the whole of Expression, you, Ed Church, station manager, deputy station manager, the whole station. People had to give up their Expression shows for us to have the debate coverage. Just, thank you so much to them for doing that. And it's been an amazing week.
I know that this is obviously a question that you've been asking the candidates, but any last words?
Oh my goodness. I guess the final thing to say is, who have you been?
I've been Chloe Shaw.
I've been Lottie Rayner. And you've been watching Guild Election Week coverage. Thank you so much.